Odd Futures, Tyler the Creator. Man, so it's interesting. We talked about Carly Rae Jepsen, and I said, I think about Call Me Maybe. I think about Tyler the Creator when he first came up, probably a little bit before Carly Rae Jepsen, right? Like a year or two. Odd Future,
Uh,
maybe even a little bit
no,
more than
even
that.
if, I mean,
What,
Tyler really popped
late
off in like
thousands?
'09.
Yeah,
But
that
the whole
makes sense.
decade really was in the first half of it, the Odd Future wave really was at full throttle, I'd say, by like 2011. So
Yeah,
yeah, right a little before Carly, but yeah, similar.
and I was definitely when it first came out. I mean, it was a huge movement, like you said, and then I kind of lost interest in following him. I think I found his music a little bit inaccessible, only because it sounded very just like dark, angry. It was salacious. I think in a lot of senses,
Sure. Shock.
a bit off putting. Yeah, a bit off putting at points. And then Flower Boy came out 2 years ago, Grammy nominated. Uh, and this was a different Tyler, the Creator, than we had heard before. A little bit more upbeat, kind of seeing life through a different lens, or at least talking about life through a different lens. Flower Boy's a lot more jazz infused. He's finding a new sound. And then Igor comes out, and this is an album that's written, produced, arranged. Anything that the album had to have done, he did. So this is
Yeah.
totally his work. I was a little bit concerned. I was like, is this gonna actually be, what he thinks it's gonna be, or is this gonna be maybe a flop?
Mm.
Igor, what was it, a hit for you, or was it a flop?
Oh, it was definitely a hit. I didn't have that same concern, but that's kind of interesting to think about because you can think of two records ago in 2015, Cherry Bomb, which
Mhm.
was a big swing, his first real swing at attempting to escape just being a pure rapper.
Mhm.
And it was largely inaccessible. Most of the songs weren't very good. Smucker's exception. But having, if Cherry Bomb had happened again with Igor, man, I hadn't thought of it that way, but that would have been interesting if he just kind of got lost in his own devices again. But no, I think Igor is fantastic, and frankly, I think there's so much going on with this album that it requires multiple listens, and I
Yeah.
still haven't given it all the time it needs.
Mhm.
But upon the first listen and ran back a lot of our tracks since then, I like a lot. I like a lot of it. I think it's really impressive, and as you said, he's come a incredibly long way from kill people, burn shit, fuck school. You know,
Yep.
it's it's been quite the ride. And I was actually looking back, and he's released an album every other year the past 10 years. Like this is his sixth album: 09, 11,
He's
13,
he's
15,
working.
17, 19. Tyler's that guy. He's real.
Mhm.
And this is it's funny. I think he's 28 now, and to make this kind of progression from 18 to 28, again, it's no one saw it coming. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome, especially because when he first came up, I think people weren't even sure really what to make about Future. Like, was this a real thing? Is this just like a niche movement that's catching some craze? And he's really established himself now as I guess you can't say like an elder statesman, but like you said, he's been making albums every other year. Like, this is his sixth album. That's crazy. Um, to go back to Igor specifically, though, I think what I found most intriguing about this was it's incredibly unconventional, and we've been talking a lot more recently about genreless albums. This is definitely a hip hop album, but it infuses so many other sounds throughout. It's chopped in such a specific way. There's a lot of distortion in terms of the vocals on here, whether it's pitched up or pitched down. Um, songs end abruptly, but it still feels very cohesive, and I think that's what's really impressive. Is it feels like you're really going through um, a ride of different emotions and thoughts. It seems to be based around losing a relationship of this person that Tyler was in love with, and then this guy left him for a woman, and Tyler kind of grappling with that throughout the album in a lot of ways. But he really, I think, produced this in a way that is very interesting and unique, but that feels still like a whole. This album, I think, feels like a whole, even though you can take individual songs off here and enjoy them. And I think that's really impressive for someone who, like you said, had not such a great run their first time around producing.
Yeah. And I mean, he's long waxed poetic about his love of Pharrell, and
Mm-hmm.
really been a fan of the whole rap machine, to be honest,
Yeah.
which was always funny because he was such a iconoclast or presented himself that way when Not Future was at its peak. And yeah, we reviewed Earl, some rap songs last year. Earl certainly has long rejected his come up in terms of the music he makes now. Same for Sid and the internet. Um, but Tyler, I guess the elder statesman thing's been thrown around. It's kind of true, just because I mean he's like friends with like close friends and like just part of the rap game, even if he doesn't make like the same kind of music as ASAP Rocky and Q and Wiz and all those people. But he's just like one of those dudes. He's kind of at the top. I mean, remember Kendrick name dropped him in Control. That was 6 years ago,
Hmm.
and he's only gotten better since then.
Yeah.
Um, and again, I think this one in particular, I actually it's early, but I think I like a lot of these songs more, or want to revisit these songs more than Flower Boy. Like Flower Boy was really impressive. Just, I mean, obviously, like he was talking about his sexuality really for the first time in earnest on that. But
Hmm.
songs like Garden Shed and Boredom and really good songs, but songs I didn't run back that often just because of the mellowness of them.
Hmm.
But I mean, Who Dat Boy and I Ain't Got Time, See You Again, like big hits from him off that album. But in this one, I think songs like Earthquake, excuse me, with Playboy Cardi. Shout out Cardi being on this, by the way.
Yep.
Uh, Run Out of Time, A Boy's a
Yeah.
Gun. I think, man,
That
they're
beat switch up on Running Out of Time is like crazy how good that is.
man, these are songs too. They're so cool to listen to on their own. And then as you listen
Mhm.
to them in sequence, and you hear how the beats change within the song, and then in transition, it's just again, there's a lot here. I still have to parse a lot of it out, but
Mhm.
I think it's really great.
Yeah, and to kind of go back to that genre-less sense, like one of the songs that stood out most to me was the closer, "Are We Still Friends?" And that song is just like straight soul, like soulful as fuck. But then probably the song that stood out to me next is "What's Good," which is just it's a banger. It's a song you want to move around to, dance to. Whatever he tried to do with each song on this album, he does well. And I think that's the most impressive thing is that this really feels like this unlocks something for Tyler in terms of what his career and what his potential as an artist is. And that's just really exciting. If you haven't checked out Igor yet, or maybe if you haven't really been in on Tyler, which if you weren't in after Flower Boy, what are you doing? But
Mhm.
get on and listen to this because I think this is an album that you can't miss for 2019 for sure.
Yeah. One last question: how did you feel I've before and certainly after him, Mike Posnering us and telling us to turn your fucking phone off, listen straight through, don't be distracted, or else sentiment, which I also broke right away because I was texting you about the
Yeah.
album.
Yeah. How did I feel about it? I find that a bit pretentious when artists do that, and it's no different for Tyler. I do think though, almost with anything, or if you like a movie a lot, like this is the same issue we had with Roma last year.
Mm,
If you're gonna
yes,
go into something like that, something
locking.
that there's potential you're gonna be uh, not paying attention, that you're going to be distracted in some sense, and it's something you really care about, you should take the time to listen to it with the least amount of distractions as you can. I think texting your friends and talking about the album can only enhance it, though. So I don't know if I
Right.
necessarily count that, but I do think when artists kind of put it up there, it's like, dog, like, this ain't it.
It's
Like,
audio. It's a little
yes,
different. Sorry.
exactly.